Hi, I just wanted to share a little bit about my testimony. I've been a Christian now for 36 or 7 years, and I came from a home that my parents, while they probably believed themselves, they were never encouraging us to seek after anything, and if we did, they wouldn't have stood in our way, I don't think, but they just decided that they would let us make our own mind up, whatever that means. And when I was 15 or 16, I had nothing really. The only Jesus I ever heard about was when people hit their finger with a hammer, or I saw the odd bumper sticker with the One Way Jesus sign on the back, and that was really the only expressions of faith I'd ever heard about. I don't think I'd ever been inside a church. I suppose my sister Hazel got married when I was about 5, so I guess I went to that wedding. That would have been the only time I think that I'd ever been inside a church. And so I got all the way through to 16 or 17 and never heard the gospel. I remember being drunk one night in Waiuku, where I grew up, and I went into a local meeting, and wasn't disruptive in any way, but I'd obviously been drinking, and it wasn't the sort of person they wanted to be around their young people, so they asked me to leave, and didn't share the gospel or anything with me, and that's okay, I guess. So it wasn't okay, but they missed out on a blessing, because I'm pretty sure I would have responded in some way. So time went by, and when I was 17, I had changed jobs, and I was working as a herd tester, travelling to a different farm every night, right across New Zealand, right across the Waikato part of New Zealand. And this particular night, I was going to a new farm in Tokoroa. Never been there before. They were a German couple, older couple with a son who wasn't married, German, and they were Presbyterians, I think. Don't know. They said to me, as we were sitting around the table, look, we read the Bible and pray after dinner. Would you like to join us? And I thought, I don't think so. But I was polite, so I said, okay, if that's what you do, I'll stay and listen. So I listened to the message that they shared from the Bible, and I to this day can't really remember what it was. But I got nervous, and I said I'd really like to go and go to bed. It was only like 6:30 at night, but it was winter time, and so it was dark. And I went into the bedroom, pulled the curtains quickly, found one of those draft stopper things that you put under the door, put that on the door, under the door crack, on the floor, just in case something got under, climbed into bed and pulled the bedclothes right over my head. And I really was frightened, because I'd had a few spiritual experiences in my growing up years, and they were all designed by the enemy to frighten me. So in essence, I was afraid of the spiritual realm. And so here I was, they were praying out in the kitchen, I was in my bed with the bedclothes pulled over my head, darkened room, very dark, the curtains pulled, door stop, everything in place so that nothing could get in. Next thing I knew, the whole room filled up with light. Now, I knew this was a spiritual experience, and I wasn't afraid. For the first time, there was a spiritual experience happening, and I wasn't afraid. And I thought, wow, this is different, but I still kept the blankets over my head and just peeked out a little bit, and I couldn't really see, I could see the outline of Jesus, I guess it was, but I knew later it was Jesus, but then I didn't know who it was. And so I didn't know anything. I didn't have any Christian background. I didn't know what to do or what to say. So all I knew to do was that I knew this being in my room was God, and I knew I wasn't. And I'd never been taught to pray or anything, and I didn't know how to pray, and I didn't have any of those skills. So all I knew to do was He was God and I wasn't. So I just said, God help. And that was really the start of my Christian walk. From that moment, almost, not that moment necessarily, but over the next few days, the whole of heaven seemed to be moving towards me, and I bumped into just about every Christian in New Zealand, and after 2 or 3 months, I found myself in a little church in Matamata in New Zealand, giving my life to the Lord. And so, my experience of coming into the church was supernatural. It was sovereign. It was the power of God. It was the glory of God that touched me. And same with being baptized in the Holy Spirit. I'd never heard that there was such a thing as baptism in the Holy Spirit. And we were in a meeting probably a week or two after that event where I publicly confessed my life, gave it to Jesus, and the pastor said, let's all hold hands, and he just prayed a prayer like, Holy Spirit, move in and through each person here, and so the Holy Spirit did. And when he moved into me, I started Shundi Munding, and it was Tuesday. I didn't know what speaking in tongues was, but I just started speaking in tongues. And again, sovereign and supernatural. And I believe that if you're watching this testimony and you don't know whether God's real or not, my challenge to you is to just do what I did. And if you're not sure, just put your hands out and say, God, help. And I know my God, I know the Lord. I know He will pull all stops out. He'll move heaven and earth to prove Himself to you. And I don't know where you're at today or what you're doing in your life, but I can assure you that if you'll reach out to Him, He'll reach out to you. He's real. After 35 or 7 years, I've got no doubt of the reality of God. I've had so many experiences now of His love and His presence in my life, and I encourage you to do the same. Just simply reach out to Him and say, God, help. And you watch God move in your life. Thanks very much for listening. God bless you. Hope to see you again soon.